Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. My name is Sean, and I'm delighted you're joining us for today's ESPC community webinar. Today, I am joined by Andrew Bibby, MVP, who will cover exploring Dynamics 365 sales for Business Central users. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember to join in on the conversation about today's webinar. Our handle is @ESPC_community, and our hashtag is #ESPC25. Tweet us, tag us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which is updated with the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking the Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar. Take humans out of the loop with autonomous agents with Peter Reuter, MVP. This webinar will take place February 31st of January, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. CET. For more information on this webinar, please check out www.sharepointeurope.com/register for webinars. Elevate your Microsoft Power Platform skills at the European Power Platform Conference in Vienna on the 16th to 19th of June 2025. Power Platform Week attendees get €150 off tickets with code Power Platform Week, valid until February 7th. Learn the latest in Power Apps, Power Automate, and Dynamics 365 while connecting with experts and peers. Scan the QR code to register now or visit www.sharepointeurope.com/European Power Platform Conference. Don't miss our 2-for-1 sale for FabCon Europe, available February 5th only. Register now to get 2 participants for the price of 1. More perspectives, more networking, and more opportunities. Act fast. This offer is for 1 day only at www.sharepointeurope.com/FabCon Europe 2-for-1 deal. Ready to sharpen your skills or make the career-defining move? Join us at ESPC 25 to learn from 100+ experts across 120+ sessions, covering everything you need to stay ahead in Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Microsoft Teams, and Copilot. Get your tickets at www.sharepointeurope.com/pricing. As always, if you have any questions at any stage, please feel free to type in the questions box and Andrew will get to them during the webinar. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, where you'll be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenter, Andrew. Hello, Andrew. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, folks. Hi, Sean. Thank you for the intro.
Perfect.
All right, let's just get started on sharing my screen.
Yep, I can see your screen perfectly.
Fantastic. I'm just going to move the GoToWebinar stuff out of the way. And I'm ready to go when you are, really.
Yep. You can go ahead.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my session, which is around, obviously, exploring Dynamics 365 sales for Business Central users. So the intention of this session is really to showcase some of the things that Dynamics 365 sales can do, sort of over and above Business Central. And that's not to do Business Central an injustice, because I know Business Central has some of these features around, managing customers and relationships, but there's a lot of functionality in a dedicated product like Dynamics 365 sales that may be more useful to your organization over and above what Business Central can do. So we're going to explore some of those things today. As Sean mentioned, please ask questions as we go. I will keep an eye on the time just to make sure that we have enough time to get through everything, but we've got lots of demo to go through. I'm not expecting to take the whole hour, so plenty of time for questions as we go through, and pray to get the demo gods that everything goes all right. So quick introduction to me. My name is Andrew Bibby. My company is Proximo 3. We're based in the UK, as you may be able to tell from my accent. I have been specializing in Dynamics 365 on the CRM side rather than the ERP side for a long time, just past 18 years this month. So yeah, I've kind of been through a lot of change in terms of the products and what they used to do and what they can now do. Obviously, including all the great up-to-date stuff around AI and Power Platform and all of those good things. My contact details there. Please do get in touch with me if you have any questions or if you just want to connect on LinkedIn. Very happy to do that. And in 2017, try and get the date right, I was awarded the MVP award, which is obviously a great privilege. But what that means is that I get to speak directly to Microsoft around what customers want from the products. We get to visit them once a year out in Redmond as well and talk to the product teams. So that's very useful. So if you do have any ideas or any things that you see and you think, oh, I wish it could do that, again, drop me a line and I'll see if I can raise that with the product teams. Often get very good questions out of these sessions, and sometimes they're things that I think, well, that shouldn't work like that, or some customers found a problem, so I can raise that with the teams. And yeah, it's a nice benefit of being an MVP, as well as meeting all of the other lovely MVPs around the world. So yeah, with that, let's get started. So, bit of an agenda for today's session. Obviously, I'm going to position Dynamics 365 sales and kind of where it fits into the overall Dynamics 365 ecosystem. We'll talk a little bit about, why might you choose to use sales instead of Business Central, because as you may know, if you're on this call, if you know Business Central already, it does have some functionality in there for around managing customers and relationships and that type of thing. So what does Dynamics 365 sales offer over and above that? Let's talk about that. Then I'll talk about the standard functionality that we've got in the product. Some of that may be familiar already, particularly if you're using the CRM functionality in Business Central. And then I'll go into a demo and I'll try and bring some of that to life and actually show you what sales looks like, some of the standard functionality, and then we'll go into some of the more advanced functionality as well. Some of the really clever stuff around things like recording phone calls and analyzing what happens on phone calls, from a sales perspective. Copilot, obviously, we're going to talk about that a little bit. Yeah, so there's some more advanced functionality in there, and I'll show you a demo of that as well. And then we'll wrap up with, okay, if you have been more convinced by this presentation, at least to take a look at Dynamics 365 sales as an option for your business or for your customers, we'll talk about actually how you can connect Business Central and Dynamics 365 sales together. And we've got a few options there, and I'll talk through what those are. And then I'll wrap up with actually how you can get your hands on the product itself and try it out for 30 days. Go through all of the stuff that I'm showing today, actually. So what I'm going to show you is actually a trial version of Dynamics 365 sales, and it's got some data and it's got some functionality in there already. And actually you can leave this session and access exactly the same stuff and give it a go for yourself if you want to do some more analysis over whether it's a good fit for your organization. Okay, let's get started then. So what's Dynamics 365 sales? Okay, we've got this very colorful graphic here that I've noticed is now slightly out of date, but we've got the overall Dynamics 365 sales ecosystem, and then you can see right at the top, we've got sales, we've got marketing, which is now called customer insights journeys. And then we've got customer service and really some products there that are very much more focused around managing customers, getting new customers and managing the life cycle of a customer as an organization deals with that customer. We've got some other stuff down there as well. You can see over on the left here, we've got Business Central. So obviously that comes under Dynamics 365. And then we go into some of the other bigger ERP products like finance, supply chain management, product operations. There's lots of stuff there, but what we're focused on today is primarily around CRM, what we used to call CRM and what lots of companies still do call CRM, customer relationship management. And the key point there is around relationship. how can you use software and applications to manage your customer relationship and make sure that you're keeping on top of it, you're servicing customers effectively, you've got good customer satisfaction, and you're potentially selling more to customers as you go through the life cycle of that customer. Okay, and that's all around sales, marketing, as the terminology of marketing rather than the product name, and also customer service as well. So we're going to focus on sales. Here's a little screenshot of it, and I'll show you the demo of this in a second. So some of the benefits of Dynamics 365 Sales, if you didn't know already, it's cloud-based. There is actually still an on-premise version, but it's hardly ever used. It's really end of life, much like the ERP products that come under Dynamics 365. Yeah, I haven't worked on an on-premise CRM project for at least 5 or 6 years, probably longer. But so we're leveraging that cloud infrastructure from Microsoft, makes it very robust, very good availability, good SLAs around uptime, which is 99.9%, high scalability, all of those benefits of using the product in the cloud. It works on all devices, so you can use the sales interface on a laptop, on your phone, on an iPad, and actually you're using the same application on each of those things, and it just rearranges the screen to make it work on the device that you're using at the time. So you don't have to do anything for that to happen, that just works automatically. So that's a nice benefit, particularly if you've got people like salespeople who are out on the road and they want to update something on their phone, or if they've got an iPad, they can absolutely use that to access Dynamics Sales as well. It's built on top of Microsoft Power Platform. You may know this already, and what I see from the Business Central world is that there's more and more Power Platform getting into that space. More and more Business Central consultants and customers looking at Power Platform to leverage Power Platform for extending the applications that they use in their organization. And actually, the Dynamics 365 CRM products sit on top of the Power Platform. So you can use Power Automate and Power BI to extend Dynamics 365 Sales. You can build additional applications that use data from Dynamics 365 Sales in a very native way. So all of that good functionality you get from Power Platform is equally applicable to Dynamics 365 Sales as well. Is there a question?
Andrew, we just have a question in there, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Is the operations and finance parts of Dynamics also available in the cloud suite?
Yes, I'm no expert, but yes, they are. So what used to be called F&O, or finance and operations, yeah, there's a cloud version of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, highly configurable as a product. It's intended that when you buy Dynamics 365 Sales, it comes with out-of-the-box functionality, but the intention is that it is customized and configured to suit the organization that it's going into. So very often, for example, sales organizations, they'll have a different sales process. They'll have a specific sales process for their organization that they want their salespeople to follow. And so you can configure Dynamics Sales to match that sales process. And you can add fields and remove fields, and customize it basically to the organization's needs. That's done like you would do customizing any model-driven app. So it's very straightforward. It's no code. You don't need to use any code to do that type of configuration. You've also got options around using low code and also pro code as well. So you can use Power Automate with sales, like I mentioned. You can, if you want to do more complex interactions, perhaps with other systems, you can write code as well and have that run within Dynamics 365 Sales. So that tends not to be the case these days. I would say you can achieve 80–90% of requirements with no code, maybe some low code stuff like Power Automate. Very often on projects now, we don't write any code at all. we just use no code and low code options. So that opens the configuration up to a lot more people. You don't need to be a developer to be able to configure and customize Dynamics 365 sales. You obviously do need some background knowledge, but you don't need necessarily highly technical knowledge anymore. Highly scalable, like I mentioned, it's built on top of Power Platform, which itself is built on top of the Azure infrastructure. And so it's all on Microsoft infrastructure, which is very highly redundant, has very good scalability, very good reliability. And actually, at one point, I think it's still the case, but Dynamics 365 cloud applications were Azure's biggest customer. So actually, internally, the Dynamics 365 team get a big Azure bill every month, and they pay that to the Azure team. So yeah, Dynamics is a massive user of Azure infrastructure. So this is all built on top of Microsoft technology, basically. And then the final thing is that Dynamics 365 Sales is a product in that suite. Like I showed you, there are other products such as customer service, like I mentioned, customer insights journeys, customer insights data, field service that sales can interact with. So if you're using Dynamics 365 Sales in your organization and you've got customers in there, the same customers can be serviced and worked with in Dynamics 365 customer service, for example. It's exactly the same data. It's just different applications looking at that data. So giving a different user experience for different purposes, just all pointing at the same database underneath. And that's a really important part of getting these applications working together. They work natively together, and that's a big benefit for lots of customers.
Andrew, just another question there, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So it just says a follow-up question. Is it if those parts are available to customize with Power Platform?
Could you repeat that?
It's just a follow-up question from the last question. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
A follow-up question is if those parts are also available to customize with Power Platform.
With Power Platform. So we assume we're talking about finance and operations still.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm not an expert on those parts of the platform. Dynamics 365 is huge in terms of the functionality it provides. So certainly I know that finance is fairly recently it's been moved on to Dataverse, which is the database platform that is in Power Platform. And so that the data that Dynamics 365 Finance is working with is stored in Dataverse, and that means that you can use that data within Power Platform applications. So you could build other applications that also use that data on top of Dataverse as well, as an example, and Power Automate and Power BI with that data, work with that data. So I know that there are other ways of extending those products. I'm just not an expert on how you'd extend Dynamics 365 Finance, for example. But it's all moving in the direction of Power Platform. So at some point, not too distant future, I don't think, finance in particular and SEM and products potentially like human resources, I think they will be completely on Power Platform. So they would be available to extend using those Power Platform tools.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew.
Question. Okay. Right. So let's talk about Business Central functionality. So we do have some CRM features in Business Central, like we talked about. We've got customers, we've got interactions, we can do some segmentation, we can track sales opportunities, and there is some marketing functionality in there as well. Now, that may be suitable and all an organization needs. One of the big benefits of Business Central is that you can use one product to run your whole business, at least for some organizations. And that CRM functionality may well be suitable and satisfactory for those organizations. Absolutely fine. If you are dealing with larger organizations potentially, and also organizations that have a dedicated sales team, salespeople that have more complex needs, that's when you might start looking at Dynamics 365 sales to use for the CRM part instead of Business Central. Like I mentioned, you can still integrate these products and join them together so that you can have a customer in Business Central and that same customer in Dynamics 365 sales and move data between those systems. And I'll come on to that towards the end. But yeah, in terms of the Dynamics 365 sales functionality, we're looking at more advanced customer management, and I'll show you some of the functionality around that. In particular, where an organization has a more complex sales process or processes, you might have different processes for different types of products that are being sold, different types of customers, that type of thing. It's straightforward to extend Dynamics 365 sales to support those processes so that people are following the right process as they use the system. We've got some nice rich functionality around what's called activity management, and that's the interactions you're having with a customer or a potential customer, and I'll show you some of that as well. Sales team management, so having things like sales targets, forecasting, sales territories, reporting across your organization, that type of thing as well. So it's really built for a sales team to use in a way that sales teams work. We have mobile apps as well, as I mentioned. There is actually a dedicated Dynamics 365 sales app. You can just use the browser version on your phone, for example, but there is an app as well, which gives slightly more functionality. And then finally, we've got that nice integration with Outlook, with Teams, with the Microsoft 365 services there that you'd expect, as well as other Microsoft services like SharePoint and Power BI. So there's very natural native integration with those products. In particular, salespeople live in Outlook or in Teams, and so there's nice tight integration with those products too. So you can bring Dynamics 365 sales information into Outlook, and vice versa. You can send Outlook information like emails or meetings or Teams meetings. You can send that information into Dynamics 365 sales as well, so you can keep track of those interactions that are happening with customers. Okay, so I'll just take you through some of the basics of Dynamics 365 sales, and these are actually basics of pretty much any CRM system, and then we'll go in and I'll show you what that looks like in the product itself. So we're normally dealing with accounts, and an account is just an organization of some kind. It might be a company, it might be a school, it might be a government department, it's just some type of organization where people work. But the generic name for that in sales is accounts. We've also got contacts, so they're people. They might be customers, they might be potential customers, they might be, people that work at the organization, but actually, you're not selling to them, but maybe you need to, finance contacts or something. You need to speak to them, but they're not actually part of the sales process per se. So they're just people and their contact details. And you can link these together, so you can obviously say these people work at this account, as you would expect. Now, we start to get into what functionality there is in CRM systems. We've got some terminology in Dynamics 365 sales, which is called a lead. Now, a lead is a very early conversation that you've just started to have with a potential customer. And that might have come from a webinar. It might have come from an event that you've run. It might be somebody that you met in casual conversation. It's somebody that you might want to speak to, and some contact details for them at the very start of the sales process. And we can link leads to accounts and to contacts as well. So we can say this lead is for this company, or it might be for this person, or it might be both. The next stage of a lead, after you've had some kind of conversation with that person and you've done what's called qualify. So as part of the sales process, you're going to talk to the customer and establish, is this customer a good fit for our organization? And also, have we got something they're interested in buying? Once you've established that, that's generally where you switch that lead into what's called an opportunity. So the opportunity is where you're continuing that sales conversation, but you've already established actually this is something that we want to spend some time on. So we qualify the lead into an opportunity like that. Now, opportunities can also be linked to contacts and accounts, and I'll show you how this works in the standard functionality in Dynamics 365 Sales, but this is a very standard sales process. You start with a lead, you get some contact information, you get some information about the company they work for, and then once you've had more of a conversation, then you qualify that lead into an opportunity, and then that opportunity is developed, hopefully into you selling something. So the final part of the puzzle is these activities. So that's emails, phone calls, meetings, Teams meetings, a bit more old school, but letters. It's interactions with customers, and they could be contacts. Generally, they will be, obviously, but you can link those activities to opportunities or leads in Dynamics 365 Sales. Why would you want to do that? Primarily, it's so that you can keep track of what you've talked to that customer about, obviously, but in particular where you've got sales organizations where you may have multiple people, multiple salespeople talking to that same customer, perhaps at different parts in the journey. It's so that those salespeople can keep up to date about what's happened with that customer. So if I'm a salesperson and I've been on holiday for 2 weeks, but I need to pick up where I left off with my customers, but I know that when I was off on holiday, some stuff had gone on. I would look in the activity history to see what's happened in the meantime and catch up. And I'll show you that and some functionality that's in Dynamics 365 Sales that helps you catch up more quickly. Okay, so that's a screenshot of what it looks like. Let's dive in and I will give you a demo. So if I switch over to here, that's the exact record I was just showing in the screenshot. So this is Dynamics 365 Sales. Now, this is, like I say, you can probably see at the top here, this is a trial. And actually, this is a trial that I created yesterday, and you can do the same, and I'll show you where to do that. But you can go in and try this stuff out yourself. But I'll just give you a tour around Dynamics 365 Sales to start with. So we've got navigation on the left-hand side, and this is where we get between the different types of records. So I've got accounts here, I've got contacts here. I can go and look at what leads I've got going on. And I'll come back to this in a minute. Opportunities, I've got some calls, I've got my calendar up there as well. But let's start out by looking at that account record. So this is a list of my accounts, and that's the companies that I'm currently dealing with at the moment. Let's go into that Alpine Ski House example. Now, what I'm going to do is actually fold that away, that navigation, just to give us a bit more space. And this is what a typical Dynamics 365 Sales application looks like. It's got these columns of information, and it's got these tabs that we can switch between as well. Now, actually, if you were using Dynamics 365 Field Service or Customer Service or Customer Insights Journeys, that looks very similar as well. And actually, finance is starting to look a lot more like this too. Maybe at some point Business Central will, I don't know. But yeah, so this is a very typical user interface. We've got this 3-column layout. We've got the most important stuff on the left-hand side here, just because that's where your eye naturally goes. If you are in a Western country, at least, you're going to gravitate towards this area to look for information. In the middle here, we've got this timeline. So this is actually, just get that out of the way for a second. This is actually where we keep track of those activities. And this is the history of interactions and activities we have been entering against this organization. I'll come back to that and we'll talk more about that. Then over here, we've got things like the primary contact for this account, and then some other contacts that also work at this organization. We've got an address over here on the left, and we've even got, this is an option, you don't have to use this, but we've even got a map in here so you can actually see where you're going potentially. If you're going to go and visit this customer, that might be useful as a salesperson. you can pop that out and get directions from Bing Maps and do that type of thing as well. Now, just down the bottom here, we've got some opportunities that are linked to this account. So actually this example data is all based around coffee machines and selling coffee machines as part of your sales process. So we've got some opportunities here that are being worked on. And again, I'll come back to those. You can see here, we've got some overdue activities. This is some emails that we should have sent out. So yeah, it gives you little nudges in the right direction. So that's generally what a Dynamics 365 sales record looks like. Okay, so let's go into now an easy way to get between records. One thing I can do is if I don't want to actually move away from this record, maybe I just want the phone number for Cecilia here. I can mouse over that like you saw me do, and it's giving me a preview of this record. Okay, so that's a nice little bit of functionality, and I can copy that if I want to. Just copy that email address, or I can make a call. But let's actually just click into that, and immediately I'm into the contact record. So it's a really easy way to jump between records. You don't have to go out and search for another record and jump back in again. You can just click between records because they have this relationship. That's the customer relationship management part. Okay, again, we've got this 3-column layout. So this is a contact record now. We've got the most important part over on the left here, so contact information. Again, we've got an address, we've got a map. Now you don't have to have this layout, but this is the layout that comes out of the box pretty much. You can customize this, move fields around, add your own custom fields. It's very straightforward to do. Again, we've got that timeline in the middle, which shows the interactions that are happening. And actually you can see here, these interactions are related to an opportunity that this person is involved with. So I'm not looking at the opportunity record, but it's basically rolled up the interactions to the contact record as well. So I can keep across all of the opportunities and leads that Cecilia is involved with just by going to this timeline. So it's just another way of getting to that information. Got some other things over on the right-hand side here, but it's a very similar layout, as you can see. Also at the top here, we've got a standard toolbar. Now the buttons on this toolbar change depending on a couple of things. They depend on the record that you're looking at, and also the role of the person that's using the system. So there's a very granular security model within Dynamics 365 Sales that lets you define to a very low level what type of user can do what things, or which things in the system. You know, what data they have access to, what functionality they have access to, and the user interface automatically adapts based on the type of user that's using the system. So if somebody, for example, does not have a delete privilege in their security setup, they won't see that button. So the user interface adapts itself to only show what the user has access to, and that really helps with training, really helps by removing clutter in the user interface, and it allows you to define a user experience for certain types of users that's very focused on what they need to do, and that's just out of the box functionality that you configure. Okay, I'll show you quickly. I did fold this up. You may have noticed this little Copilot icon here. What this is doing is built into Dynamics 365 Sales is some Copilot functionality, as you would expect these days. And you can see here that this is actually summarizing. So what it will do is it go through all of that activity history and it will summarize. So if I've been on holiday for 2 weeks, I can open up my my leads and my opportunities and my contacts I'm dealing with, and very quickly, rather than having to go into each email and each meeting that's happened, I can just catch up on what's been going on. So that's one of the small benefits of Copilot. There is some other stuff too, so we'll come back to that. Okay, so that's an account record and a contact record. Let's see what else we've got going on. I'm going to show you some functionality which is around the dashboard, and this is standard functionality. It's built into Dynamics 365 Sales, and it allows users to create their own dashboards, and you can also define system dashboards as well. So depending on which one you want to do. And this is my landing page for the day generally. So as a salesperson, I'll open up Dynamic Sales, and this will say to me what's currently going on. You can see here, these are some leads that I've been working on recently. These are some calls that I've made recently or I need to make. I've got my leads that I've got going on here as well. So leads I'm currently working on, and a sales pipeline as well. So they're my opportunities broken down by the sales stage that they are currently in. So actually, let's go into the leads. I can open up that chart, dig into it, and it will show me the records that make up that chart. That's what we've done here. So that's another quick way to get you where you want to go. So actually, I'm just going to close that out so that we can take a better look at the lead form. So first thing you probably notice at the top here is this blue bar. This is called a business process flow. And what that's doing is it's guiding me through a process. As a user, it's guiding me through a business process. In this case, it's our sales process, and we can customize this to what the organization needs. So we can say, okay, we've got these stages. These are called stages: qualify, develop, propose, close. That's the stages our sales process goes through. And then in each stage, we can have these things that we need to do. So at this stage, I need to find out what the budget is. I need to know what the purchase time frame is. I need to have identified the decision makers, all this stuff. This is all examples, but we can customize this depending on the organization's sales process. So this is guiding users through a process. It's reminding them to do stuff if they haven't done it already. It's improving your data quality. It's getting the users to follow a standard process rather than go off and do whatever they feel like, which is what salespeople like to do. And it's also reducing the training as well. So I'm not having to think, what do I do next? It's telling me in this stage, I need to go and do these things and fill them in. Okay. I'll just fold that back up then, and we'll have a quick look at the lead form. I'm just going to move this over, give us a bit more room. On a lead form, this is how this one's being configured. We can see here we've got a list of things we need to do, and this is actually called a sales sequence. So in addition to this guidance at the top here, what we can do is define a sales sequence that says, for a new lead, first of all, you want to send them an email. Then you want to send them a reminder email. Then you're going to go and call the customer. And then you're going to do a thank you email, etc. And again, we can define what this process is, but this is guiding the salesperson what they should be doing next. So it's again that guidance for more inexperienced salespeople potentially. Okay, so again, we've got the timeline here. We can identify stakeholders that are interested in this lead. We've got competitors potentially. We've got some interactions that we've had with this lead. And so again, a lead is an early stage opportunity. It's somebody that we might sell something to. We need to work on them to develop the relationship and work out, actually, is this something we want to explore? So once we're happy with the information that's on the lead, if I switch over to this one over here, this has just got a bit better information on it. What I want to do is say, okay, I've filled everything in that I think I need to at this point. I'm going to qualify this lead. And I'm saying to the system, I've got enough information now. I've met my qualification criteria. I want to qualify this into an opportunity. That's going to copy all the information from the lead into the opportunity. And so you can take the sales process forward on the opportunity. Now this has popped up and it's telling me that actually this account that's linked to this lead already exists. And at the moment, I don't care, but it does have some functionality in there, which is for duplicate detection, so that it avoids creating duplicate records. That's just what that was. Give me a little summary of what's going to happen when I qualify the lead. It's going to link it to Fabricam, which is our account. It's going to create the contact for Winford Asher there, and it's going to create an opportunity. So I hit qualify. Just takes a second. And what it's doing behind the scenes is it's creating the opportunity record, it's creating the contact record if they don't already exist, and it's creating the account record if they don't already exist. Cross our fingers with the demo gods. Okay, so it's qualified the lead, it's created that contact, it's created the opportunity, and this is a nice little Copilot summary of the lead and what's happened with the lead so far. So you can copy and paste that into an email or something if you want to. Click finish. Now it's automatically moved me on to the opportunity screen at this point. So you can see here that the business process has moved on. We've qualified the lead. Now we're into developing the opportunity. And in this case, we need to do things like identify some stakeholders and look at the customer need and that type of thing. So that's what I need to do as part of this process on the opportunity. Okay, similar kind of layout again. Most important information at this top left area. We've got the timeline. We've got that Copilot summary of what's happened so far. And at this point, as a salesperson, I would be filling in more information as I speak to the customer, identifying what they need to do, identifying stakeholders, etc. And then I can move to the next stage. What's it telling me there? I haven't done something. Okay. Helpfully place the error message. There we go. Okay, it's moved on now. So you can see I've moved it to the proposed stage. And at this point, as a salesperson, I'm creating a quotation. I'm talking to the customer. I might be revising the quotation, etc. So that's what we do at that proposal stage. So we're moving through the sales process until ultimately either the customer says, yes, I want to go with it. I'm happy with the quote, in which case we would close the opportunity as won. Or we say, the customer might say, no, you're too expensive. And then we say, okay, sorry about that. And we close the opportunity as lost. So typically when we win an opportunity, that's when we might synchronize into Business Central to actually do the fulfillment of that product or service over in BC. Okay, so that's kind of the basics of Dynamics 365 sales. Let's talk about potentially some of the more complex stuff, some of the fancier stuff. So that was the basics. We talked about the account, the contacts, the leads and opportunities, and those activities. What can we do that's maybe a little bit more sort of complex and helpful? Okay, so there's some functionality in Dynamics 365 called Sales Accelerator. And I'll show you that in a second, but that's really focused on getting your salespeople looking at the right stuff at the right time. Come back to that in a second. We've also got some predictive forecasting. So that's using actually machine learning models to say, based on those previous opportunities, what's our likelihood of winning a similar opportunity in the future? So it can basically look at what you've done previously and try and predict what's going to happen with those leads and opportunities in the future. So that's some nice clever stuff. We've got relationship analytics, and that is more focused around actually analyzing how are your customer relationships? Are you doing the right things? Are you using the right behavior as a salesperson to win this piece of business? We'll look at that briefly. We've got those sales sequences that I mentioned that allow you to define a nice standardized sales process and approach to say, once we get a new lead, reach out to them, send them an email, try and set up a meeting with them, try and get more contact information, etc. We can set those up as a standard process to prompt the salesperson. And then finally, we've got conversation intelligence. And I do want to show this to you. I just need to check whether I've got sound shared, but I'll try and show that to you shortly. And that is where you can record your sales calls and have the system actually look at what's happening in those sales calls and give you some analysis on the right types of behavior that your salespeople are using on those sales calls, and potentially things like where a customer might mention a competitor or certain keywords. You can pull out that from the conversation so that you can improve your sales technique, or the salespeople can improve their technique. Okay, is there a question?
Yeah, So we'll get into the questions answers part. So what are the key advantages of using Dynamics 365 sales over traditional CRM systems?
I think, well, hopefully I'm showing you some of them, and I'll show you some more in a second, but it's got standard out-of-the-box functionality that is useful for salespeople. Now, that's not to say that other CRM systems like Salesforce is the most obvious one, but also HubSpot and Pipedrive, they're very, very popular CRM systems. And to an extent, a lot of that functionality is shared. You have similar functionality in Salesforce for most of these things. For example, it tends to be the differentiator is where a customer is already a Microsoft customer. A big strength of Dynamics 365 Sales is not just this functionality, but actually interacting with the rest of the Microsoft ecosystem. So Azure, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, Outlook, Microsoft 365 apps. The integration there tends to be better than the other CRM products in the market. And a lot of the time, an organization might just want to be a Microsoft shop, as we call it. They just want to buy their software from one place if they can. So the functionality provided gives you a good competitive, the functionality is competitive against the other CRM systems that are out in the market. So I would say there isn't a golden shot of you definitely need Dynamics 365 Sales because of this. It's a multitude of things. It's a multitude of reasons generally.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, so let's talk Copilot because we have to, because it's a presentation about a Microsoft product. So I'll cover this briefly. There is a lot more functionality here, but it would take up the whole session to talk about Copilot in sales. There's two products. One, it's called Copilot for Sales, and that is used in Outlook and Teams and Word to interact with information that's in Dynamics 365 Sales. And there's also that Copilot functionality that's actually in the sales product itself, and I've showed you some of that, and I'll show you some more in a second. It's focused around helping salespeople work more effectively, and that might be helping you write emails. So I use this actually in my day-to-day because I do some selling to my customers. I might use Copilot for Sales to help me write an email that summarizes an email chain that is 15 emails. And instead of me reading through all of those and taking 20 minutes to write an email, I can have Copilot do some of that and get me 70, 80% of the way there. And then I'll just fix that up basically. But I can do that email in 5 minutes or 10 minutes rather than 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So it's really about, all of this functionality is about helping salespeople do the same things, but more quickly. That's the idea. So that they could be selling rather than doing admin, which they hate to do anyway. So, helping you prepare for a sales meeting, for example, summarizing opportunities, finding out recent news about your customers. That goes off to the internet and looks for recent news, and that may be like a conversation starter when you're talking to a customer. And then generating email content, like I say. There's a lot more to this, particularly in Copilot for Sales. I do another session about Copilot for Sales. It's a big topic now. So I definitely encourage you, if you're interested, to take a look at Copilot for Sales in particular for those benefits of using it. And then, like I mentioned there, we've got functionality that works in Dynamics 365 Sales itself, in Outlook, in Word, in Teams, all geared towards helping your salespeople get to the information they need more quickly. So just keeping an eye on the time. Let's take a look at some of that. And I'll give you a screenshot here. So I'm going to take you over back to CRM, and we are going to, let's start actually over in the opportunities view. So this is standard functionality, this bubble chart here. What I've got here is a list of my opportunities, and they're being visualized on this bubble chart. And the bubbles mean you've got the close date in the bottom here, so when I think the opportunity will close. The bigger the bubble, the more the opportunity is worth. The different colors show me what stage the opportunity is at. So you can see here that we've got a nice big bubble here, and it's currently in the proposal phase. What that means is that as a salesperson, I get some information about what should I work on next. If I walk into my office on Monday morning, what should I work on next? And this is just calling out, in this case, actually this deal, it's pretty big. We've got a nice big bubble, and it's quite late in the sales process. It's in the proposed phase. Okay, so maybe I want to catch up with that one first. So it's all about helping a salesperson prioritize what they're doing. So they're not just working through the list, looking at the deals that are not going to close for another 6 months. And they're not having to go into each opportunity to kind of work out, what should I be doing next? So it's just helping me work a bit more effectively. We're going to go into one of these opportunities, pop that out, and you can see here we've got that sort of standard layout again, and standard information about the opportunity. We've got some interactions with the opportunity as well. We've got a notification that actually the close date that we had in there has already passed, so I need to go and update that. That was yesterday. So it's prompting me as a salesperson what to do next. Let's take a look at the relationship analytics here. So what this is doing is looking at my interactions with this customer and saying, is that what we'd expect for this opportunity? So what it's going to do here is various bits of information here. With the opportunity health is kind of steady. It's not improving. It's not getting worse. It's looking at the emails that have been sent on this opportunity, which is a lot, versus similar opportunities. So it can compare what you're doing on this opportunity to what happened in the past. Again, how does that time spent on this one? We haven't spent all that much time in comparison to similar opportunities that we won. Okay, so it's like, how can I focus my salespeople to have the right behaviors? We've got some information about email engagement. So are they opening emails that we're sending them? Are they looking at the attachments we've sent? Are they clicking on links in the emails? How engaged are my customers with this opportunity? And various bits of information, including similar deals. So as a seller, I might want to go in to look at a previous deal to see what happened on that. That might help me figure out what I need to do next with this potential customer. And then there's some analytics here about the different emails and things like that we've been sent. So that's all about relationship analytics. It's helping me understand the health of my relationships with my potential customers. As a salesperson, not only does it help me keep up to date, keep in contact with people I should be keeping in contact with, but also, maybe I want to focus my time on the people that I've got the best relationship with, which sounds a bit counterintuitive, but that they're the most likely to buy from me because I've got the best relationship with them. So, maybe that's something that I want to do as well. So that's just one of the things that we can do with Dynamics 365 Sales. Let's have a quick look over at the Sales Accelerator that I mentioned. Now, this is helping me as a salesperson focus on what I need to work on. We've got this list of records on the left. This is a prioritized list of things that I need to look at. And that can be leads, it can be opportunities, it's the activities that are related to those. And you can see here we've got my lead for Kenya Brady. I've got that guided process. So that's that email sequence, that sales sequence. And it's telling me, okay, for this new lead, send them an introductory email. And I can say, oh yeah, I've done that. And it's even going to suggest times when I should send that email based on previous history, when it's most likely that this person will open that email. It's very precise. Not quite sure how it does that, but what you can do is actually create the email and then set it to send that email automatically at the time when they're most likely to open it. So there's some clever bits in there. And if I say I've completed that, it's just asking me what I did, and then it'll move on to the next part in the process. And then, so it'll say then, okay, I've done that one. I need to send them a reminder email if they haven't responded later. Okay, so again, this is helping my salespeople really focus on what they need to do next and guide them through a process, taking all that guesswork out. Another nice thing I will just mention is around that conversation intelligence. So this is a list of phone calls that I've made recently, and I can click into one and get some more information about that. And you can see here actually at the bottom, so the first thing you can see here is made a transcript of this call. And right at the bottom here, I've actually got the recording as well. And I can play that. Now, I don't actually be able to hear this, but what it's going to do is it's going to follow the transcript. Okay. So you can
No, I
see
don't
it's
think you can hear it.
okay, I'm not showing the sound, but it is actually playing the sound, playing the recording for me, and you can see the transcript actually as it's moving through the phone call. It's looking for positive sentiment, negative sentiment, so where the customer is potentially negative about something, and neutral sentiment. So this is a coaching tool you can use with salespeople to say, what sort of conversations should you be having. We've also got the transcript there that we can search. We've got mentions, so you can see actually in this conversation the customer mentioned some competitors, and you can jump right to those mentions, and some other keywords we've got here as well. So again, this is allowing a salesperson themselves, or maybe a sales team leader, to look at what's happening and use this as a coaching tool to help improve conversations that are happening with potential customers. Some very smart stuff there. Okay, final little mention. I've got to mention Copilot. So let's go on to an opportunity, and I'll try and keep this short because we're running a bit short on time, but got Copilot here, pop that out at the side on the right here, and now I can do various things with Copilot. So let's say I'm getting ready for a sales meeting, or I want to see, what's happening with this. Let's try say that one. It's going to ask me connect to Outlook there. Actually, let's try something else. So get the latest news for this account. So there's some fairly kind of typical Copilot stuff, but it's very much sales focused. Okay, so it's very quickly gone off. I've got some information about the account that this opportunity is about. So maybe next time I speak to the customer, or potential customer, I can mention some of these things that are happening, if that's useful for the conversation. So we can do various sort of Copilot stuff in here, like summarize the opportunity, update the opportunity, that type of thing as well. And like it said, I need to link it to Outlook, and then it can do even more, with things like the emails that it generates later on. So it was a very brief look at Copilot, but we're running a little bit short of time, and I do want to just cover the integration side. So let's say actually you think some of your customers or your organization could benefit from Dynamics 365 Sales, but you need to keep these systems in sync. So you want to carry on using Business Central for some things. You want to use Dynamics 365 Sales for other things. How can you keep them in sync? There's a few options here. So there is actually an out-of-the-box synchronization that Microsoft have built and they provide, and you can connect the two systems together with that. It synchronizes customers, products, opportunities, sales orders, and invoices. So keeping those in sync as you go through the sales process, information from Dynamics 365 Sales is pushed into Business Central, and vice versa. When you update an account in Business Central, you can push the changes back to sales. So that's helpful. If you need more complex integration, got some other options. Power Automate is the most obvious one. There's a very rich connector for Dataverse, which is the underlying database for Dynamics 365 Sales, and there's also a connector for Business Central, and you can use those to move data between the systems as well. We've got pro code options if you do have development as a possibility in your organization, and then we've also got some third-party solutions too. There's a company called E1 Solutions that does a nice no-code, low-code option for integrating the two systems together. Works very well, so that could potentially be an option depending on your needs. So we can keep those systems in sync. So I'm going to wrap up by saying, okay, if you want to try this stuff yourself, this is where you go. head to trials.dynamics.com and you can spin up a trial exactly like this. Go through all of the things I went through, spend a bit more time on them if you want to. It lasts for 30 days and you can use that however you want, basically. If you want to get more information about dynamic sales, just head to dynamics.microsoft.com/sales. Lots and lots of nice information there about how the product works in more detail. So I'll wrap it up there. Like I said, if you do have questions that we weren't able to get to, please do connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me an email. We specialize in Dynamics 365 sales at my company, Proximo. So yeah, if you wanted to explore that further, please do get in touch and we can talk about it further. But thank you, appreciate everybody's time. And I will finish there, hopefully right on the hour.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew, for a great presentation. So now getting to questions and answers part. Should you wish to ask a question, please feel free to type in the questions box now. Just another question there. What are the licensing and cost considerations for organizations looking to adopt both solutions?
Yeah, great question. So this has changed fairly recently. So if you've already got Business Central licenses, you can get basically an add-on license for Dynamics 365 sales. I think off the top of my head, it's about $30 per user per month to use sales as well, which is actually quite a discount from the standard price. The standard price is about $80 per month per user. But if you've already got those Business Central licenses, you're basically buying an add-on license. It works the other way around as well. So if you've already got sales licenses, you can buy a BC license for $30. So yeah, pretty good, pretty compelling. I mean, I think if it's not worth $30 per month to a salesperson, if you're not saving them that amount of time, then it's not worth looking at. But I imagine for a lot of organizations, sales and the functionality it offers is going to be worth a lot more than $30 a month. So it's definitely worth considering.
Perfect. So that's all the questions we have today. So on behalf of the ESBC community, we'd like to extend a big thank you to you again, Andrew, for taking time out today to carry this webinar. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So
Thanks for the opportunity.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. You're welcome. So that's the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointuf.com/resource center. Thanks again to all of you for joining us today. I hope you join us again soon. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.